she texted. "I accidentally threw out your laptop. Oops." My master's thesis was on it, due in 3 days. I replied, "Accidents happen." Then I recovered everything from cloud backup, graduated with honors, and sent her the invoice for data recovery, $8,900. When she realized accidentally had legal consequences. I'm 27 male, finishing a master's in computer science at a state university in Ohio. Not Ivy League, not glamorous, just 6 years of grinding, working nights at a help desk, eating instant ramen, watching classmates drop out one by one, all pointed at one finish line. Defend my thesis. Graduate. Walk across that stage. My thesis was on adaptive neural network compression. 140 pages. 18 months of original research, custom datasets I spent weeks building, and an algorithm my advisor called genuinely publishable. It wasn't just an academic exercise. A research lab in Pittsburgh had already offered me a position contingent on graduation. Everything I had worked for was sitting on that one laptop in my apartment. An apartment I shared with my girlfriend of 2 years. She was magnetic. The kind of person who walks into a room and immediately becomes the center of it. Funny, quick, charming. I was drawn to all of that when we met. What I didn't clock for a long time was that being magnetic and actually being considerate of other people are two completely different things. The signs were always there if I'd paid attention. 8 months before all this, she borrowed $400 from me for a family emergency that turned out to be a music festival in Tennessee. She RSVP'd yes to my advisor's dinner on my behalf without telling me, then canceled the day because she wanted to go antiquing. She had a habit of tidying our apartment in ways that made things disappear, things that were mine. I rationalized every single one of these moments. Told myself she was spontaneous, not careless. Told myself I was being too rigid. Then came the text. I was in the university library running a final validation sweep on my model. 3 days before submission. 2 days before my defense. My phone buzzed on the desk next to me. "Hey, so, don't freak out. I was cleaning and I accidentally threw out some stuff, including your old laptop." Oops. Sorry, babe, grimacing face. I read it 3 times. Your old laptop. I didn't have an old laptop. I had one laptop. The one with my thesis on it. The one I had specifically reminded her about multiple times because of exactly this habit. The one that had 18 months of original research that existed nowhere else. Or so she thought. I sat completely still in that library chair while my brain processed what I was reading. My thesis. My datasets. My defense in 48 hours. My job offer. 6 years of my life. I typed back 4 words. Accidents happen. I'm fine. Put my phone face down. Took a breath. And made a very deliberate decision about how I was going to handle what came next. Here's what she didn't know. 3 months before this, a PhD student in our department lost 2 years of work to a hard drive failure. My advisor brought it up at our next meeting like a warning. Back up everything, he said. Redundantly. Religiously. I took that seriously. I set up automated backups to both Google Drive and the university's cloud server, running every 24 hours. The last backup had completed at 2:17 a.m. that same morning. I had everything, every file, every dataset, every chapter, complete and intact. But I didn't tell her that. I logged into the university portal from my laptop, downloaded my full thesis folder, and kept working like nothing had happened. I told her I was staying late at the library to figure out what to do. I let her believe the worst, not out of cruelty, but because something in my gut was telling me to slow down and pay attention before I did anything else. Because I needed to answer one question first. Was this actually an accident? Our apartment building had a small security camera mounted above the recycling area near the dumpsters. I knew the building's superintendent personally. I'd helped him recover data off his phone a while back, so we had a decent rapport. I texted him that night and asked if I could check the footage from that afternoon. He said sure, come by tomorrow morning. What I saw on that footage stopped me cold. She carried the laptop bag out separately. Not bundled in a trash bag. Not mixed in with a pile of stuff she was clearing out. She carried it on its own, walked directly to the bin, paused, looked around once, and dropped it in. Then walked back inside. That pause. That look around. Those were not the movements of someone who got distracted while cleaning and made a mistake. I've replayed it in my head hundreds of times since. That was a decision. I copied the footage to a USB drive. Said nothing. Went home. She hugged me and said she felt so terrible. She cried a little. Made me dinner. We sat on the couch and watched TV, and I sat right next to her and felt something in me go completely quiet. Not loud, not explosive, just quiet. Like a door closing. The next 48 hours, I finished my revisions, printed my presentation, and submitted the final draft at 11:42 p.m. the night before my defense. My advisor emailed me at 7 a.m. the next morning. This is the strongest draft you've given me. See you at 10. I defended 2 hours later. The committee asked hard questions. I answered every one. At 11:58 a.m., the committee chair looked at me across the table and said, "Congratulations, you've passed." I walked out into the Ohio afternoon and called my mother. Then I called a lawyer. My cousin's friend was a civil attorney who handled property damage and related cases. I laid out the whole situation. He listened without interrupting. "You have the footage?" he asked. "Yes." "And the laptop was solely your property?" "Not jointly purchased. Bought with my own money." "I have the original receipt." "And you're claiming damages. What costs did you actually incur?" This is where I'd already done my homework. Even though my cloud backup had saved everything, I had consulted a certified data forensics firm about producing an official verification report, a document that confirms what data existed on the device, establishes its academic and professional value, and details what recovery would have cost if the backup hadn't existed. That report was $8,900. It was a real service from a legitimate company, fully documented and itemized. "Get that report," he said, "and pull together everything. The footage, the laptop purchase receipt, your thesis submission confirmation, the job offer letter, and a clear written timeline." He walked me through the legal framework. In Ohio, intentional destruction of someone else's personal property, even when disguised as an accident, can constitute conversion under civil law. If intent could be demonstrated, I had a real case. The footage made intent very hard to argue against. "She'll likely settle," he said, "once she sees what she's actually facing." I spent the following week collecting every document. Then I sent her the invoice. $8,900, with a formal cover letter from my attorney's office. She called within 4 minutes. "What is this?" "Data recovery invoice. For the laptop." "Are you serious right now?" "It was an accident." I apologized. "I know. Accidents happen." I kept my voice completely flat. "But the recovery service charges the same either way." "I am not paying $9,000. Are you out of your mind?" "That's okay. My attorney will be in touch." "You got a lawyer? Over a laptop? Over my thesis? Over my research? Over a job offer that was contingent on me graduating?" "You graduated. You're completely fine. Because I had a backup. Not because of anything you did." She hung up. The entitled behavior started within 24 hours, and honestly, it almost impressed me with how shameless it was. First, she called my mother, told her I was being vindictive and trying to blow up the relationship over a mistake. My mother, who I had already walked through the entire situation including the footage, said, "He showed me what happened. I saw the recording." Click. Then she texted a guy I was friends with in undergrad, someone who had met her exactly twice, and asked him to talk some sense into me. He forwarded me the message with a single line. "LOL. What do you need?" Then she posted something vague on social media about people showing their true colors and turning something small into a weapon. Subtle. Real subtle. But the move I genuinely didn't see coming was when she hired an attorney. A family friend who apparently practiced mostly estate law and had no idea what he was walking into. This attorney sent a formal letter claiming the laptop had been disposed of in the course of shared household maintenance, and that as a co-resident of the apartment, she bore no liability for reasonable cleaning activities. The letter also floated the idea that I had abandoned the laptop by leaving it in a common area. I'll give her this, it was creative. It was also completely disconnected from what was on that security footage. My attorney responded within a week. The response included 3 things: a copy of the security footage with a time-stamped written analysis specifically noting the deliberate and isolated nature of how she carried the bag out, a signed declaration from the building's superintendent confirming the camera's authenticity and the chain of custody for the USB copy, and a formal demand letter for $8,900 plus $1,200 in attorney's fees, with a 30-day window to respond before we filed in civil court. She didn't respond within 30 days. We filed. Small claims court in Ohio caps at $6,000, so we filed in the General Division of the Municipal Court, which handles amounts above that threshold. The moment we filed, it became a matter of public record. Her name, attached to a civil suit for intentional destruction of personal property, attached to a case with security footage, attached to a legal process that wasn't going away because she ignored it. She called me the night after we filed. Her voice was completely different from the last time we'd spoken. The edge was gone. "Can we just talk? Like actual people?" "Sure." I didn't think it would go this far. "I know you didn't. I really need you to drop this. Please. I know. I'm applying for jobs right now. If this shows up when someone searches my name, then we have something in common," I said. Because if my thesis had actually been gone, I wouldn't have graduated. And if I hadn't graduated, I would have lost the research position. That would have followed me too. She went quiet for a long moment. "Why did you do it?" I asked. Not heated, not accusatory. I genuinely wanted to understand. A long pause. Then, "I don't know." I think she did know. I think she'd watched me disappear into that thesis for months, felt like she was invisible, and somewhere along the way that feeling curdled into something she didn't examine carefully enough before she acted on it. That's my honest read. She never said it out loud, and I stopped needing her to. "I'm not dropping it," I told her. "But my attorney said if you agree to a full settlement payment plan is fine. We can resolve this without going to a courtroom." Her family friend attorney, once he actually reviewed the security footage in full, apparently gave her very direct advice. Settle. Don't litigate. Because a jury watching that footage was not going to hear reasonable cleaning activities and believe it. She signed the settlement agreement. $8,900 plus $1,200 in legal fees, structured as a 6-month payment plan. I signed it. We were done as a couple, as roommates, as anything. I moved out the following month. Packed everything that was mine, which honestly wasn't much because I'd always lived lean. The research position in Pittsburgh started 6 weeks after that. I know some people reading this are going to think I went too far. My aunt said it was cold. A friend from my graduate cohort said I should have just been grateful I had the backup and moved on. I've heard the argument. I understand it. But here's what I keep coming back to. I watched that footage. I saw the pause. I saw the look around. And I thought about 140 pages and 18 months, and the words contingent on graduation sitting in an email in my inbox, and I thought about what would have happened to me, genuinely, concretely, professionally, if I hadn't set up that backup. The invoice wasn't really about money. It was about establishing on paper, in a legal record that neither of us could walk away from, that oops is not a complete sentence. That decisions have weight. That you don't get to aim something at another person's future, miss because they were smarter than you counted on, and then just shrug and move on. Some things that look like accidents aren't. And some people need to learn that the hard way. Graduated with honors. Got the position. Got paid. I'm doing just fine. If you made it this far, hit subscribe because clearly you also believe oops grimacing face shouldn't come with a 5-figure consequence and 0 accountability, and honestly we should stick together.